Are you waiting for your husband? Did you pray to God and ask him to send your husband? And most importantly, are you ready? You see, God answered my prayer in 15 hours, but it took 6 years for the fullness of that answer to come to pass. Because in between the answer and the altar, God had to take me through a journey first. And maybe he's doing the same thing for you. So I want to say, don't give up. Trust the process. Don't cave in. Your answer is sooner than you think. Your time is sooner than you think. Okay, throughout this video, I will be looking down because I've made some notes. So if you see my previous video, you know on April 28th, 2012, I prayed for my husband, right? Like I said, that was a heartfelt from the depths of my soul prayer. So much so that I asked God to please send my husband. And if you're not ready to send him, then bring me home. Take me on home. Okay? And I explained that in the video, so I'm not going to go through that again, but I just want to bring context to show you how serious I was about after being single and going through a failed marriage, overcoming and healing and being in a place, a total different place, a total different space. I felt that I was finally ready for marriage, right? But what most people don't realize is from the moment that God answered that prayer to the moment that I married my husband, 6 years had passed. And so the question I was getting, if God answered you in 15 hours, why did it take 6 years for you to get married? And that is a fair question, and one that I do not have an issue with clarifying, like I said. But I will say this, it wasn't about fear. It wasn't about doubt. It wasn't about the fact that I was not ready for love. It really was about initially God pruning me and pruning my husband. God doing something in us before he did something for us. Okay, because we both had been independent and single for a long time. We both had been through a divorce, and we both did not ever want to go through that again. So we were very cautious in who we allowed into our space. And they were definitely vetted, okay, for marriage. And if it wasn't, keep it pushing. So when we met each other, under the circumstances and how we met, we knew that this was different. This was special. This was different. And we had better pay close attention and really figure it out and seek God and see exactly what this was. And that's pretty much what it was. So today I want to talk about that because I believe that someone watching, may be going through the same thing. You may have prayed to God and asked him for your husband or your wife, and God hasn't sent them yet. And you're probably feeling like, wow, God, did you hear me? God, are you going to send my husband? Are you going to send my wife? Will it happen, before I leave here? Because some people believe, that marriage is not for everyone, right? I don't necessarily believe that, but some people do. So we just leave it there. So I really want to speak to you. I want to speak to those who are really, been praying, been waiting, feel like you're ready, but you just feel like it's just taking a while. It hasn't happened yet, right? Because that's pretty much what I had gone through. So I'm only going to speak from experience, not to project anything on anyone, right? So God answered in 15 hours. Now, like I said, April 28th, 2012, 1 a.m. in the morning, I prayed to God. It wasn't a casual prayer, like I said. It wasn't a prayer like a quick, request before you go to bed. It was a surrendered prayer, right? And I feel God answered that prayer because for the first time ever in my life, I actually prayed for a husband. And God said, okay, you don't went through, did everything you wanted to do. You pick and choose who you wanted to be with. You never came to me. And so, now you're really ready. I believe God said, okay, you're serious and you're ready. And I believe God got serious with me because I got serious with him. I got tired of, failed relationships, a failed marriage, didn't want that again. So it's like, okay, God, clearly I'm not doing it right. Clearly I'm not picking these men out right. Picking no, I would say, let me rephrase that. I'm not picking the man that is for me. I'm not picking my person. And I need you to send him to me because you said in your word, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. So this is what I need, right? If you're still here, please subscribe, like, and share. It will mean everything to me. Back to your message. So, and also Isaiah 65:24 says, before they call, I will answer. And while they are still speaking, I will hear. So I want to encourage someone today that God heard you. When you prayed that prayer, whatever that prayer is, he heard you. He's just working it out. So don't give up, right? So 15 hours after I prayed that prayer, I walked into Sam's Club and met the man who would eventually become my husband. Not eventually as in years of dating and uncertainty. I knew the man standing before me, I would say this, could very well possibly be my husband because of how strategically I met him. And I explained that in my video. Please watch it so you can understand what I'm saying now, because I cannot go through that again because this video will be way too long unnecessarily. So I do apologize, right? So God answered in 15 hours. That part is beautiful. That part is real, but we could not have seen what was coming. My husband nor myself. So when life happens after the answer, that's the next thing I want to talk about. 3 years after meeting my husband in 2015, I lost my son. I'm not going to go into that because I also went into that in my previous video as well, how I lost my son. Not how I lost my son, but that I lost my son. All right. And I also talk about that in my book. So, I would encourage you to please look at the video, get my book, because I really talk about that. But what I will say, there's a grief that only a mother or father who has lost a child truly understands. It reaches into places inside of you that nothing else can touch. It changes you. It reshapes you. It asks questions of your faith that you never expected to have to answer. Now, in the middle of that grief, the idea of planning a wedding, of stepping into a new chapter, celebrating anything felt impossible, right? Now, this is 3 years in. So before that, yes, I was wondering, okay, when is this going to happen? When is it going to happen, basically, But in the process, I also knew we were getting to know each other, in the process. We were getting to know each other, right? But for me, I felt 3 years, 3 years is a good amount of time. But unfortunately, 3 years is when I lost my son. So that's why I say at that time, it was out the window. Temporarily. I was not thinking about marriage anymore. I was going through a traumatic situation and I needed to get through that, right? So we waited. Not because God had changed his mind, of course, not because the relationship had fallen apart, not because before I could fully step into the blessing God had given me, I had to heal from the loss God had allowed. And that healing took time. The next thing, the purpose and the painful wait. Here's what I want you to understand, and this is the heart of everything I'm sharing today. The 6 years between that 1 a.m. prayer and our wedding day in 2018 were not wasted years. They were not years of God being silent or absent. They were years of God being present in the most intimate and comforting way, walking me through a process of healing that I could not have rushed even if I tried. And I believe he was doing 3 things in that season. And I'm going to share those 3 things. First, he was healing me from the layers of loss. By the time I got to my wedding day in 2018, I had healed from a broken marriage, like I said. Years before, I had healed from the loss of my mother, the loss of my son, which was only 6 years apart from one another. I had walked through grief that most people never experience and come out on the other side with a faith that had been tested and proven. What you may not know if you didn't see my other video is that before it was confirmed that my son was no longer with us, I had to wait a whole entire year to find that out, waiting for DNA. So I just want to bring context to that when I say the season that I was in at that time. You cannot carry a blessing properly if you are broken. You cannot receive what you are not healed enough to hold. Okay? God was making sure that when I walked down that aisle, I was whole. Not perfect, but whole. Psalm 147:3 says, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. That binding up, that healing is not instant. It is a process, and God was not going to rush mine. Second, he was building something in me that could only be built through suffering. Romans 5:3-4 says, we also glorify in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. The woman who got married in 2018 was not the woman that met her husband at Sam's Club in 2012. She was stronger. She was deeper. She had a testimony that could reach people that the 2012 version of her never could. Okay? That would be me. Because I had not gone through all that I had gone through. In the name of Jesus. So God was not just preparing me for a marriage. He was preparing me for a ministry. And that's another thing that I didn't realize, that what God was doing, he was building a kingdom marriage. He was building, I'll just say that, just so I can stay on track. He was building in me through grief and healing something that would one day help someone else find their way through. And that takes time. Third, he was making the foundation strong enough for what was coming. This is a part that still moves me when I think about it. While he was preparing me, he was preparing my husband. My husband had his own journey. He had his own healing. He had his own process of becoming. And God was moving in both of our lives simultaneously, working out 2 separate timelines to intersect exactly at the right moment, in the right place, Sam's Club, at the right time, 15 hours later after that 1 a.m. prayer. God knew where my husband was all along. He knew where he was. He wasn't lost. I prayed that prayer. He says, you ready? I'm sending him. But, ... A marriage built on 2 people who have done the hard work of healing, who have walked through loss and come out still believing God is a different kind of marriage. It has a foundation that casual love can never build. God was not delaying the wedding. He was strengthening the foundation so that when we finally said, I do, we were building on solid ground and not sinking sand. You see, patience is everything. Everything. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He makes everything beautiful in its time. We have to trust the process. We have to exercise patience. We have to wait on the Lord to do certain things. Things that we can't do. Only time can do it. So it wasn't in my time. It was in His time, God's time. And His timing, even when it is painful, it is always purposeful. He will take your pain and turn it into purpose. He will take your tears and He will use those tears and turn it around for your purpose. Nothing is ever wasted with God. Nothing. There's something else I want to add in reference to God. When I said God had to do a work in us, I believe strongly that God had to. The part of that work that God had to do was to build us up, build my husband up, because he would be the earthly vessel that would help me carry the weight of what I would have to go through with my son. So before we could enter a marriage, God already knew that would take place. That would take place. My son would move. He would call my son home, but my husband would be here to help me to carry that weight. But he had to prepare my husband for that. What man or woman enters into someone's life and prepares to marry them with any type of inkling or knowledge that their child will be called home within a couple of years of that meeting? There's no way that he could have known that or I could have known that when we first met at Sam's Club. So I truly believe God was doing a work in us for that, because He knew the weight that my husband would have to carry when that would take place. So this is what I want to say, what this means for you. I want to speak directly to someone right now. Maybe God has already answered your prayer. Maybe He has already brought the person, the opportunity, the blessing, the very thing you've been praying for into your life. But something has happened. A loss, a setback, a sudden change of events, a season of grief or healing that has made the fullness of that answer feel delayed, whatever that may be. And you're wondering, God, did I miss it? God, did I miss it? Is it still for me? Why is it taking so long? I want you to hear this clearly. Delay is not denial. Delay is not denial. Like I said at the beginning of this video, God answered my prayer in 15 hours, but it took 6 years for the fullness of that answer to come to pass. Because in between the answer and the altar, there was a journey. There was a journey. God had to take me through. He had to take me through. And that journey, as painful as it was not separate from the blessing. It was preparation for it. It was preparation for it. The question I want to leave you with is not, God, why is it taking so long? The question is, God, what are you building in me in this season that I'm going to need when the fullness of this blessing arrives? When your husband your wife shows up and they're standing before you like my husband was standing before me in Sam's Club. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, God, I just prayed this prayer before I went to sleep. And you mean to tell me you sent him to me already? I didn't have to wait a week, a month, a year, 2 years? God, are you serious right now? Trust me, I was flabbergasted. At the same time, I couldn't ignore the things that God was showing me in that first encounter, the things that I had prayed for before I went to sleep. He was showing me. He was literally showing me. So it was undeniable. So, okay, the question I want to leave with you is not, God, why is it taking so long? God, what are you building in me in the season I'm going to need when the fullness of this blessing arrives? Because he is building something even now, even in your grief, even in the waiting, even in the silence. God is working. He is building. Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for the goodness of those who are called and who love God. Okay? Let me just read it how it is, because I could put it in my own words. Romans 8:20 says, all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. All things, the broken marriage, the loss, the grief, the years of healing, the delayed wedding, all of it working together for your good, for his glory. Your blessing is still yours. The answer God gave you has not expired. He is not making, he is just making sure that when you fully step into it, you are ready to carry it. Trust the process, like I said. Trust the preparation. Trust the God who makes everything beautiful in his time. Because he's a good God. He is so beautiful. He is so good. So I want to close with this. On April 28, 2012, at 1 o'clock in the morning, I prayed for a husband. God answered in 15 hours, but it took 6 years. A broken marriage healed. The loss of a mother and a father. A son lost in the process of the blessing that he has sent me. A grief walked through, a foundation built before I could fully step into what God had already prepared. And I would not change it for a thing. It made me the woman who I am today. It made me the woman who I am today. The way I pray, the way I seek God, the way I seek his face, the type of wife that I am to my husband, the fact that I could submit to him knowing that he submits to Christ. Okay, that I could trust him, that I could put my heart, soul into him and trust him. Because God sent him. Everything, all of it matters. All of it matters. God is real. God is faithful. His timing is perfect. The wait, no matter how long or how painful, is never without purpose. It will not only serve you, but if you're willing and obedient, and allow God to use you, it will help and serve others. Isn't that what this is about? God says, I believe it is James 5:16. Confess your faults one to another and pray for each other so that you will be healed. God is good. God is so good. So I just want to say, if this teaching has blessed you, please share with someone who may be in this season right now, a season of wait, a season of wondering, will they get married? Will they have a family? Has God heard them? What else do they need to do for it to come to fruition? You know? And if it's for you, take it, receive it, and go to God in prayer. Talk to God. Establish that relationship with Him if you haven't already. So yeah, let me just make sure I've covered everything. Okay, yeah, I think I've covered everything. Good. It's not too long. I didn't want to go too long. My other videos, they were like a little 30 minutes and over, and I was trying to keep this video short because I realized doing this thing, people really have short attention spans. And I really would hate for this information to get lost because I know that it's coming from God. I'm obedient. I am truly obedient. Um, and I want to do what God wants me to do and get His word to as many people as I can. So like I said, if this has blessed you, please comment. Let me know where you are. I can pray for you. I read all of the comments. I read them all, good, bad, and indifferent. I read them. And please subscribe, like, and share. I would greatly appreciate it. It goes a long way. It means the world to me. I truly believe, I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm so appreciative. If you made it here to the end, I'm so appreciative that you are still here. And God bless you. May God continue to cover you and keep you and give you the desires of your heart as you seek Him. Until the next one.